Hey, this is Ty, the Family Made Mom, coming to you today. I am here with the amazing Tia Ramey, and we are going to be talking to you today about a space to create. Super awesome, right? Yeah. So it is a space for the creatives, okay? So that's what we're talking about today. And I have with me the amazing Tia Ramey. Tia Ramey is a local entrepreneur who has founded Ramey Marketing LLC, a full service advertising agency located in Columbus, Ohio. She has collaborated with award winning talent and has served with many small businesses from coast to coast since 2012. Tia Ramey specializes in working with local outreach initiatives, and she has advised many minority owned businesses on their marketing strategy. Tia Ramey is also an instructor for the Ohio State University in the College of Public Affairs for the MAPS program, where she educates business professionals about social media, digital marketing, and self-branding. Now, listen, something that's not listed in that awesome snappy bio right there is the fact that she also has her own studio for creatives, and we are going to elaborate on that today. So if you are interested in hearing about MVP 614 Studio, please make sure you hear about that. Stay tuned to the end. All right. Yes. So Tia, welcome.
I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So when we talk about creatives, tell me, what is a creative?
You know what? A lot of times people have often defined creatives by what they can produce with their hands.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'd love to see what it is that they can do with their mind. You know, it's a way of thinking outside of the box. It is a way of exploring and visualizing. I would say it's a visionary, that can also create pathways for how they can bring those visions into fruition. Just someone who can see something that's not there and see it for what it could be.
Absolutely. So we hear a lot about these creatives, and a lot of times people think that if I'm a creative, am I just someone who's writing? Am I someone who is an artist, or does it include it all?
I think it's all inclusive. One of my favorite spaces where I've worked with creatives is just in strategizing and problem solving. Creatives have this wonderful way of seeing solutions. And even if they were artistic at one point, like for me when I was a kid, I drew constantly. And I think when you are a creative that is a visual artist, you see the world in surfaces, right? You see something blank and you know something needs to be there. And you start to draw whatever the case may be, a blank piece of paper. Now it's a sketch, and we probably saw that with our 2-year-olds when they start drawing on your walls. You get
unpleasantly.
You see a marker, they see a wall. Okay, we think they're destroying and they know they're creating. But as you get older, and what I found in that transition in my own life is my urge to draw pictures and illustrate became less and less as I was able to develop businesses and ideas and strategies. It was still another way of channeling that exact same energy to say, well, I need an income. What is a way that I can create a job for myself, create a role for myself? Or, a business would present to me a problem. What was a way that we can create something and develop a solution based on problem solving? So I still think that creatives are problem solvers and just have a wonderful way of seeing things that were not necessarily there before, and think outside of the box on how to develop those solutions.
Absolutely. So when we look at a mom is innately creative.
Absolutely.
In that, right? We're creating ways to have our home run smoothly.
Yes.
We are the organizers. We're the ones that's making sure that little Bobby doesn't pee on the toilet. And, how can we make sure that he aims properly? I'm pretty sure we're the one that created the little target in the toilet, things like that. So when we talk about a mom and how they can use their creative ability, a lot of times, especially if I'm a new mom, maybe I was creative, but now I have this baby and now I really don't know how to create a space for myself to create, or even time.
Yes.
So as a new mom, how did you find space to create?
Oh man, when I was a new mom, I was in undergrad at the time at an art college. And so my daughter, she always watched me, doing homework assignments. And at the time I was a fashion design student, so I was creating dresses and styles. And for me, I think that my inspiration was always the rooms I wanted to be in. Those are the kind of designs I created. So as I built my business and I was able to go and be in those rooms, then she watched me develop and create a business model and do branding for other businesses and graphics. So it was hard to do. I think it's hard to channel that energy when you have kids, but you do it through your children, and you do it through teaching them. And that was one of the best ways to keep her quiet, is like, okay, I'm designing or I'm painting this. Why don't you, here's your little canvas. You can paint next to me. I think that that's one of the creative ways that parents start to integrate their children into their process of developing new ways or new things that they have to do, especially if you're working in a creative space.
Absolutely. So a fashion designer, in order for me to get you not to tear up my fabrics, I'm teaching you how to sew.
Absolutely.
So that you understand, number one, the needle is real strong and it can do some awesome things. So for these creatives, how do I identify what and when to create?
Oh man, that's a great question. You know, my mom, she did that same thing with me. When I was a kid, she was my mother was also an illustrator, and she was a photographer, and she did beautiful flower arrangements and things. And one of the ways that she developed in me is through problem solving, especially, I would say, we call it now art therapy. You know, if I was upset or frustrated, you know, she would put a paintbrush in my hand, you know, and we'd sit there and do an art and craft. And by the time I was done, you know, I was in a total different headspace. But I think when you're trying to find what to create, it is more so, I think, is a calling than it is anything. It's the pull, like what's pulling you to develop this versus being pushed. And it's always that energy that's in you that just has to come out, no matter what it is. And however you channel it, you know, that's what makes you the artist. You may channel it through writing, you may channel it through painting, you may channel it through dancing, you might channel it through poetry. But the point is that there's something that is in you that is really haunting you to come out some kind of way.
Absolutely.
Some kind of way. So I think that that's the part that really makes you the creative, is the vision that you have, that you're holding inside of your body, and whatever skill that you leverage to bring that from the ether into the real world. That's what determines the type of artist that you are.
I love that you said that it is a skill that we have on the inside. A lot of times we take things that we see on the outside and we say, oh, because I see this person doing this person doing that, this is something that I should be doing. It looks fun. It looks lucrative. This is something that I should capitalize on. But in all reality, a lot of us are stuck in spaces that we don't even belong there, because I never tapped into who I am on the inside. For a mom, for a mompreneur, it's so important to harness who you are from the inside out. Understanding who you are is what helps you to be even more creative. If I tap dance in a spot that does not belong to me, it's going to be so destructive in the end. And then I'm going to have to come back and look at that spot and say, I never even belonged there anyway. So for us understanding who we are, that is so stinking important. Like, you got to get to that part first. As moms, it's so easy to lose ourselves in these little bitty people. But in all actuality, if you take the fact that you have this little bitty child who is an individual person that you have to help them become the person that they're supposed to be, it really helps you to become who you're supposed to be. Just wanted to throw that in there for free.
I love that.
Now, what type of space is needed for those who are just discovering or even exploring their creative side?
I think that's, you know, going back to what you said, you know, seeing what's on the outside. That's the part where we pay attention to inspiration. And what exactly are those things that has the spark of your imagination, right? For some people, it is a very blank space, right? And you look at all the different types of creators that are out there. Let's just look at graffiti, right? You know, someone is looking at a brick wall and they had that nerve to just go out there and they had to spray paint on it. That doesn't inspire everyone to see these are these urban surfaces, this big urban world. You know, what can I do to bring some more color and life to it? And then you have those artists that are inspired by still life, and they're inspired by nature. Some people don't want anything around. So I think that's where you really do need to know who you are. You need to know what is the environment that creates inspiration in you and gives you the safety and security that you need to explore your imagination. And we don't use that word imagination enough as adults. We use it with kids all the time, but as adults, you know, without imagination, you can't be creative. You can't.
So I am now sitting in MVP 614 studio. And as I'm sitting in here, like, for me, I just want to talk all day. Like I want to create all day. What did you do when you were thinking like, oh man, I want to have a studio for creatives because this studio can do so much for people. So what was it that tap danced on the inside of your brain that was like, this is what I can do with this space? Because I wouldn't have done this with this space. Like that's not how creative my mind is. But for you, it was. What did it take for you?
I think what it took for me is finding something that was convertible and flexible. One thing, knowing myself, is that I have a very hard time with, I don't want to use the word saying commitments, but I don't like feeling like something's long term. I love being able to pick up and go, and I love being in environments and even taking on projects that are short term. And so, and I work with so many different people that when I have a client that is a long-term project, that starts to feel very daunting for me. So I wanted to create a space where I could literally work with anyone and they could come into the space and see themselves in it. Not like you're a certain personality type or you have a certain product and this is a space that's right for the product I'm developing, but I wanted them to be able to come in and see themselves in it. Like, when you're staging for real estate, they tell you to take as much out of it as possible. So that way that family can envision themselves in that home. That's what I want an MVP studio to be, where, the furniture can be moved, anything could be customized. It's not about me, but it's about them and being able to bring their own vision to life and utilize the space in a way that makes sense for them.
So if I was someone who is coming in and I'm saying, listen, I want to be this creative, how would you help me to, because you offer so much here and I absolutely love it. The coaching that you give to your clients is amazing, just helping them to understand what they need for the space that they have. So I'm coming in and, so I'm a new podcaster. How is it that you're helping me to get the respect that I need as a podcaster? Because yes, for me, I'm a family coach and everything, but now I want to be respected as someone who is a podcaster. How am I going about getting that respect that I need so that I can have the courage and the confidence to be successful in this area?
Yeah, one of those things that we provide here, MMB Studio, we are full service when it comes to content creation. We wanted to make sure that we had quality products here that you could take advantage of, great microphones, cameras, even, like I said, good props, backdrops, things you can utilize. So we like to bring the quality into it, but most importantly, it's the support of having someone that is here to support you. So many people start podcasts, it's just them, or they start a YouTube channel, it's just them. And it sounds so simple to do and easy to do, but by the time you are recording, you're your own camera person, your own sound person, you're editing the videos, you're your own producer, you're putting up lower thirds, you have to do your own marketing, you have to do your own graphics, your own promotions. It's nice to come somewhere, I think, where someone can support you with something, whether you are one person or you come in with your own staff, your own team, your own equipment. So I love my creative space where I'm inspired most is in the beginning. I say I'm a trailblazer and I love working with someone who's doing something for the very first time. And what was most important to me is that they could come in and feel like, wow, this was possible. And I had support and I had help with getting it done. I'm not alone. And it was quality production. And if I wanted to enhance and grow, then, I have the resources I need to do that. And that's where I've always had the most fun with people in my marketing work, is working with someone who is starting a business for the first time and helping them build that up until the point that now they actually need and can hire a full-time staff to support them. I've always helped them in that space to just launch. And I wanted to take it a little bit further with MVP Studio and say, okay, well, maybe they're not starting a small business. Maybe they're just starting a little talk show. How can I help them out? And what can we do in 1 hour to make sure that they have the support that they need to get their voice out there and be heard and be seen?
I love it. So you went from being known as the marketing guru, like you were the marketing expert and still are, nothing taken away, to the crisis communications expert, to now being someone who owns their studio. If I'm in transition, I'm someone who I still occupy so many different spaces. How do I maximize my potential in that space, in the new space rather? How do I do that and still have respect in the other areas that I uphold?
I think that that's what's hard to do as a creative, right?
Mhm.
When you are a creative, you're not afraid to explore
Mhm.
and, hit your head and say, okay, well, that sounds good. And then you try that and then you bump your head.
Mhm.
But for you, you're just exploring
Mhm.
and it's hard to stick to one thing. But for the rest of the world, they'll say, hey, she's a jack of all trades, but a
Mhm.
master of none. That sounds terrible, right? As the
Yeah.
brand to be this person that keeps trying different
Mhm.
things. I like to tell people channel that creative energy, like become the master of who you are.
Mhm.
And then if you want to explore from the spaces where you've mastered something and now you want to grow up.
Yeah.
MVP Studio is the streamlined version of Ramey Marketing.
Mhm.
So Ramey Marketing can take on big projects. It could be government projects, and that's what I did in my marketing
Mhm.
company. But MVP Studio was just me being able to work with one person at a time in an affordable way,
Mhm.
and create space and time for them to be able to consult or contract or work with me in 1 hour, and they still have what they need so they can keep growing.
Mhm.
And so, I think that some people want to think of it as a podcast studio. It's not. That's one of the things we support.
Mhm.
We've helped people do audiobooks.
Yeah.
We've helped people to do their YouTube channels, whatever it is, when we're looking at multimedia production. That is just a part of marketing nowadays. We are
Mhm.
truly in a digital world now. It's moving into AI. We'll be supporting people with learning how to leverage AI so that way they
Mhm.
can make and streamline some of their services that they're going to have to provide. We've got all kinds of education opportunities that are coming up. But that is what I would tell people to do. Like, try not to spread wide, figure out how you can grow up and expand versus like spreading yourself too thin.
Yeah.
If you want to maximize on your brand and
Mhm.
everything that you have to offer, or maximize on your creative spirit and everything that you would like to try,
Yeah.
build a ladder for that.
I love what you said is about, and really summing it up, it's just you built a network where you were.
Mm-hmm.
You already had a network where you are. A lot of times even though Family Made Mom addresses moms and mompreneurs, teens and families, you're addressing people as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
You serve the entire community with what you do. When someone walks in here, they're able to understand that whatever your creative niche may be or niche may be, you are somebody who is welcome here. Whether you are somebody who is doing videography, photography, whether you want to do, like you said, a cooking show, whatever it is that you needed to do, whether it was podcasting, whether it was bringing your students in here to teach them how to do podcasting, there is a space for creatives here. Understanding that I don't have to just sit in one spot. Creatives are some of the most wandering people that I've ever met, speaking for myself, especially. We wander into so many different nooks and crannies and find our way there and make it so big. So helping people to understand that no matter what space you may occupy, yes, you may be a CEO of a company and now you just want to be free. You might want to be a photographer. Come on down. I have a space for you. And not only that, I have a space where you can understand who you are in this creative spot. So for those who are just getting into it, what does the budget look like? Because that's something that you see people who are offering things for thousands of dollars a month versus people who are offering things for the free. So how do I know where I need to go and how do I budget for that?
Oh, that's such a great question. And to your point, this is one of those things that is very broad and it's very wide. I think what's most important is that you set your own budget for what you have, and then you find solutions that fit that. Like, this is what I have to dedicate to making this a quality production. Even if you have $100, right? This is what you've got. If you're saying, okay, well, maybe I'm going to use Zoom, maybe I'm going to use OBS. Some people will use Zoom. There's maybe $16 a month subscription. OBS, there's no subscription. So I think that's most important is that you take a look at your resources, set a budget for it, because you could literally make it work any which way. And then you're going to have to figure out, for those things that you cannot pay for, what you learn how to do to fill the gap, because you could. And it's a beautiful time for that. I don't think people have ever had so many options before for how they are going to create content or just go into business for themselves altogether. It's never been more affordable than it is right now. And so anything is realistic. just about, with the exception of everything being 100% free. You're paying for something. If you're paying for your Canva subscription, or you're paying for your video editing softwares, or maybe you're editing videos using your iPhone and iMovie, whatever the case is. I think that's, you just start somewhere, and you develop the amount of content that is realistic for your budget to be done at the best quality. So I think those are the things you consider. What can I afford? And just don't compromise your quality level. There are some things I do recommend that people invest in. I do recommend investing in really great sound quality, like invest in good microphones, because oftentimes, when you're talking about podcasting, the sound is more important even than the camera. So invest in good mics. Make sure you have good sound quality. If you can even invest in learning how to do different things, you can go a long time, without having to spend too much money on podcasting. And if you look at some of the productions out there, they're not really very expensive. When you're adding in several camera options, angles, for example. But like the Breakfast Club, they didn't start off with much before they became what they are. The important thing is that you're consistent, and the important thing is that you have good content, and the important thing is that people can depend on you to keep producing the good content that they need to hear, and you're building an audience for it.
I love it. So when you talk about the sound, I do want to just inject this thought in here. I don't know if you all have listened to my podcast in the beginning, but I definitely had a smoke alarm that was well overdue for a new battery. And I had so many people that were like, sis, like, I don't know if you know this, but there is definitely an annoying beeping sound. And at the time, I was not tall enough to reach that smoke alarm, but it definitely was something that was a distraction. For myself, I did invest in some microphones and things like that. So understanding what you can afford for what you're doing, Amazon is our friend, things like that. But when you are wanting to expand, when you are wanting to do things on a bigger scale, definitely reach into seeing what type of studios are out there just for the acoustics, how the sound bounces off, because all of that plays in so greatly for your creativity. When you are in a spot that is conducive for what you are trying to do, and it gives you that feedback, that sound. I'm not one who likes the headphones on. As you can see, I'm pretty disobedient in that area, but whatever it takes for you, like I'm looking at this live and it just makes me like, I'm so excited on the inside because it's colorful. It speaks to me. Whatever speaks to you as a creative, make sure that you are pulling that into your space. Whatever your budget is, make sure that you set that. As a mom, especially mompreneurs, even our teenagers and families as a whole, we can become so busy making sure that you include your family in that space so that they understand that they are not being pushed out so that you can have a new venture. No, they're actually being pulled into something that is amazing, and their ability to help you to, to explore your creativity is only going to take you that much further. So make sure that when you are creating, include your family, so that not only can you be that example that you can be creative, even no matter how busy you are, no matter how much you have going on, everybody's included, because that's what it takes. It's going to take your family getting behind you. And even you can speak to that, being as busy as you are in the spaces that you are, whether it was with the government, whether it's with your, your friendly neighbors, no matter what space you are, your family is always included. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Oh my goodness. I think that my family is my muse, first and foremost. They are the ones who inspire me the most. They can also be the most distracting, keeping it real. But I think that one thing that is very important, my husband and I, when we were out looking for a home, and this is where I think the creatives, again, need to know who they are, and, on the inside. If you're a person who is, let's say you are frustrated by clutter, then you're going to have a hard time having a space to create. My husband is you got little kids, they like to throw things around, and that can be very frustrating. So it was very important to us and me when I was looking for a home that I had an office space, and when I walk in that space, that is my space. No one can touch it. With the door. With the door that I can close, and it needs to look like me. And no matter what I put there, it stays there until I come out.
Yes.
My husband is the exact same. He has his space. He's got his basement. That is his zone. You know, I'm not to decorate it nor touch it.
The man cave.
The man cave. And so that's important. Some people are inspired by isolation. And some people are inspired by, you know, open spaces where everyone is together. And so I think it's important that you keep that in mind, and your family understands that about you. Also, when you're creating, is there a schedule for it? That's a big thing. You know, if I'm doing a recording at home, I'm doing a podcast recording, or sometimes I'm writing my book, I'm going to get up about 4 a.m. For me, that's the best time to write, between 4 and 6.
Yes.
I need the house to be quiet.
Yes.
Like, don't pull me out my zone, right?
Yes, yes.
So those are important things, but that means at the same time, where you're creating space and time for you to do the things you want to do and the projects you want, and you want a nice inspirational zone to do so, you have to also make sure that your family feels that they are not secondary to your creativity. And I think that once you can do that, if you can say, you all are my priority, I've spent time with you, I do this, I do that, and it's valued, and it's not that you're resenting that, but they really feel that you've poured into them, you get more space and more time to create, because now they're full, right? And now it's time for you to go fill up and do the things that you need to do so that you can create and come back and pour back out again. So that is important to me, that there's a system for what it takes for everyone to fill up in the house. I think that mothers have the hardest time with that. Think about how we fill everyone else up, and we pour out, but we haven't always trained our families and advocated enough for ourselves for like, what do I need to fill up? I may not need you to give to me, but I need you to give me time to give to myself. I think that's where it goes all the way back to what you said, knowing yourself. One thing that I cannot do, even if I'm working with a client or the jobs I've taken, I'm never going to take a job where I'm going to have to work in a cubicle. That is a space for me that is so limiting. You're going to suck all the creative energy out of my body. I cannot look around at gray walls in a tiny cubicle with a bunch of space and other people that can just walk into my zone and interrupt my mind. I can't. I'm a person who has boundaries. I love my boundaries. I need my boundaries. I need to be able to close the door and see things on the wall that I hung up. That's another thing for me. I can't have white walls. I don't like blank walls. So it's so important. Like, you have to always build that world for yourself. And don't compromise on that, or it's going to drain you of the energy that you need to build the life that's in your heart and in your imagination to do. And you have to train and teach everyone around you to become in alignment with what that is. Like, you cannot be afraid to advocate for yourself in those areas. You just can't.
It's so true. I tell you, me and my husband were just talking about that. He was like, babe, I am not moving another thing around in this house. I'm like, I need you to. All those muscles that you have, I need you to move things around. Like, within 3 months, I am definitely going to move. If nothing else, all of my 68 plants, I am going to start moving them around sporadically around the house, whether they go to the bathroom, whether they go to the kids' bedroom, but not for long because I don't trust them with them. But you know, you're always moving something around. I could do the cubicle as long as I could see my family inside that cubicle, like to remind me what I was doing. But in all actuality, I had to make sure that I detached myself from that cubicle so that I could see that there was still life around me. I'm not good with areas without windows. You know, whatever type of space that you need. Does it need windows? Does it need an open space? If I don't have windows, I have to have something bright. I have to have plants. Like, I have to be able to look at something that shows light. Understanding what you need for your space is important. It's important for you mentally. It's important for you emotionally, because there's going to be a time when you're creating something that you're going to get burnt out. It's not going to look like that picture that you thought, whether you were an artist and your pictures aren't selling, whether you're a photographer and nobody's signing up for your sessions, whether you are a podcaster and nobody is listening to you. You have to find a time in between there where you go back into your zone and you say, no matter what, if I'm the only listener, if I'm the only person that's looking at whatever, if I'm the only person involved in this, I'm still going to keep doing what I am purposed to do, what I am creative enough to do. You have to be able to find that spot, because while our families are great, there's going to come those dry spots where you don't have enough of that outside energy to keep you going. And you're going to have to need a way. You're going to have a way to encourage yourself. Make sure you're surrounded by things that do just that, encourage you. This space has been such a vibrant space. It is located in an area of our downtown Columbus that's friendly. It's friendly parking wise. It's friendly so that I'm not stressed when I get here, because somebody who does not like going downtown, add to all the traffic, like sincerely stresses me. I used to work downtown, and I don't have to pay parking fees. I'm not bombarded with feeling like I'm in a dark garage and I'm not unsafe. I walk in and it's just a healthy space. It's a space that makes me want to create from the time I park my car to the time that I go in here. And I appreciate your space. So I want to give you time and space to talk specifically about MVP Studio, because I'm pretty sure I jacked up the name just a tad bit. So I'll allow you to go ahead and just talk about MVP Studio and how we can be a part of MVP Studio.
Absolutely. First, I'll just plug in the website is mvpstudio614.com. You can definitely visit the website and you can see that we have membership packages available, and it's as little as $25 a month. Yeah. That gives you an opportunity to take advantage of our discounted services and even some free services. And there are also memberships that give you free or unlimited access to the studio space as well. So make sure you go in and join. But my gift and who I'm looking to support, I'm really looking to support leaders and bold voices. I'm looking to support the healers and the ministers and the people who are out there trying to be heard and to be seen, that want to put positive content that helps make people better tomorrow or today than what they were yesterday. That is who I want to work with. That's who I've always worked with. And I've always had a great time with them. And I created this space for them because, for starters, one of the inspirations was that my brother, who's also my cameraman, he got in a car accident and it destroyed some of our equipment because it was in his car. And I'm like, you know what? We can't just keep things in the car. We can't keep replacing things because of the wear and tear from travel. And I wanted to have a space where my clients could come in and just meet me, and everything is set up, and we could streamline our process for how we were, producing content and recording things. So everything already being set up just helped to cut down on that time, and just giving people a location helped a ton. But that's who I want to support, is just more of those leaders, more of those people. A lot of people say, you do a lot. I'm like, no, we really only do one thing. Let's say two things. I help people to be heard, and I help people to be seen. That's what I do in a nutshell. And if you need to be seen and you need to be heard, I would love for you to come down to MVP Studio and allow us to work with you one way or another. There's some sort of way we can work together. Even if you don't need the production side of things, maybe you just need some consulting and you need some advice on your marketing and getting yourself out there. Love to talk to you about your brand and what you have to offer and your content, see what we can do to make it better.
I love that. And always, for me, I ask a lot of questions, and I love talking to people beforehand. One thing that you get out of your consultation is help with understanding something that you might not all the way understand yourself. For me, I am a person who is going to go through your entire website because I'm anal like that. And I'm going to look at everything that I can look at to make sure that I understand how can I fit into this space. So if you are even remotely I maybe want to, get into being the creative person that you are, I really want you to do a consultation. I want you to do a consultation because that consultation is going to help you to understand not only who you are, but what you want to do and what you can do with this space. And because Tia is not selfish, she understands that if this is not a space for you, she's also going to refer you to some people who can help you with what you're doing. Okay, because even though this might not be the studio for everybody, it's a studio for a lot of people that didn't know they needed it.
Absolutely.
So I am encouraging you, because I'm not selfish either, because this is not my space and I didn't create it and wouldn't have had the mind to create it, right? We got to know where our lane is, okay? Definitely reach out to MVP Studio not the 614. Remember, I said studio, 614 studio, my bad. Okay. So it's MVP Studio. Definitely reach out to MVP Studio. And, I'm repetitive on purpose. Okay. So MVP Studio, we're reaching out and we're figuring out how we can utilize our spaces to create. Maybe you are virtual and you still need some services. Guess what? She has virtual services too. Okay. Thank you. You didn't know, so I let you know. All right. Yeah. So as always, this is Ty, the Family Made Mom. Tia, thank you so much for taking your time to help me out understanding what it is to create awesome spaces for creatives and also helping others as well. Is there anything you want to say in our conclusion?
Oh, I just want to encourage people to, to not be afraid to explore their imagination, that thing that's inside of you, that thing that it's in your heart to do. There's so much support and resources to help you bring it out. Don't be afraid of it. Don't even be afraid to tell people about it. I know everyone wants to lock you into this fear, like someone's going to steal your idea. What is yours, right? So to be prayerful and wise with how you share it. But that thing that's waking you up, that idea that is stirring in your head, there's so many wonderful, wonderful ways that you can bring that into fruition, and make sure that you give us a call at MVP Studio. And moms, advocate for yourselves with your creative space, that zone that you need to sit down and write out that vision, whatever the case may be. Build that into your family process. Your family will be very proud of you eventually. Eventually.
They don't understand it at first.
They won't understand it at first. They will not. But it is imperative for the health and the wealth of your family that you are not afraid to be a visionary and an executor.
Absolutely. I love it. So listen, this has been Ty, the Family Made Mom. As always, like, love, share, subscribe. Sharing is caring, and caring is definitely sharing. If you have that friend that you know of, that is embarking on a journey, or if you are that friend and want to be a greater friend to yourself, please make sure that you reach out. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please do make sure that you reach out to the Family Made Mom, and we will point you in the right direction. All right. Be blessed.